really interesting how you connect that. And, one of the things that I was learning about as I was preparing for this episode was like how much would someone need to save? Like, I've heard different numbers and I've heard different things like, how much would you need to earn to do this? Or, so when we're thinking about like in that accumulation time and your working time, when you're trying to get that to FIRE, what are some things to think about when we talk about like building up that nest egg or building up that things, or how would someone do that?
Yeah, the first thing is, if you're listening, if you're the type of person who, you have, that you still have money at the end, right? So you pay your bills and there's still money left, right? That could mean one of two things. And I want everybody to listening and watching to think about this is, do I spend less than I make, or do I make more than I spend? Because those sound the same. I mean, you can think about them similarly, but spending less than you make is just about having the intention of living beneath your means, or some people say below your means. It's just saying, and also not just paying your bills and saving what's left, but actually flipping it around and saying, how can I save first? How can I invest in myself? How can I invest in my future self? Right. So if you think about it, debt, the difference between debt and investing, with debt, you're paying for current expenses in the future, right? Right. But with investing, right, you're pushing current income into the future to pay future expenses. So it's kind of, if you think about it, if you're the type of person who might be kind of trying to get rid of your debt, or you finally out of debt, investing is kind of on the opposite side of that. Is you're actually giving a gift to your future self every time you save and invest. Your future self is thanking you, not just for the money, but also the experiences and the alignment of the values that your future self is going to be able to achieve and really feel and experience in the future. And you talked about like, how do people know like how much to save maybe, or like how to know if they're on track? So once you're spending less than you make and saving and investing the rest, first of all, it's really important that you're not just saving, but you're investing, right? So just opening an account and putting money and putting cash in is probably not going to get you there very quickly. So this is a good reminder that if you are, we're not going to give any investment advice here, but if you're contributing to these accounts, make sure that those accounts, that money is actually invested in alignment with your time horizon, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years from now, because you want to take advantage of the growth within the accounts. In the FIRE community, they often say that you want 25 times your annual expenses in retirement. But I will quickly say that's a misconception, because the 25 times rule it forgets about all the other income sources in retirement, such as Social Security or public-private pensions. Some listening to this, if you have a public pension, you might not be paying to Social Security. So, it might be important to understand some of the education around. Have you talked about some of those things before? The windfall elimination provisions, some of the the ways that Social Security and public pensions can interact with each other?
Not a whole lot, but that's coming in future episodes for sure. It's really important to touch on.
Yeah, and something that I point out too, just so our listeners understand as well. So state of Hawaii is one of those states that those people are paying into both Social Security and to the public pension. So in the event, most of them or all of them that call Hawaii home wouldn't have to worry about some of those things. Sure. But we are going to get to those topics because there are definitely people who have those situations too.
Fantastic. So keep listening. But yeah, I think that's actually a good thing when you're paying into both. So you don't have to worry about that. But with that said, right, let's say you have like public or private pensions, you also have Social Security. That doesn't mean all of your retirement income is going to have to come from your own investment portfolio that you control. So rather than doing like a 25 times income type of heuristic or rule of thumb, I think it's better to either work with a financial planner or financial professional, or even do some of your own projections there's some financial planning tools. One is newretirement.com. I'm not affiliated at all, but that's a way that you can kind of project some of those the income and expense sources over time. Because anytime you have different timing, for example, like your pension will start at a different time than your Social Security, and so since when you have variable income sources like that, it's better to use some type of software to project that rather than using a rule of thumb. But a good rule of thumb generally, right, is to spend less than you make, right? Sure. Right. And make sure that when you are investing, that you are saving, that you're actually investing. And I know some of the rules of thumb can say save like 10, 15, 20% of your income. But I think it's better to kind of flip it around and say, okay, like what does my desired lifestyle look like? maybe there are some alternate ways to gain the same value from those expenses with reduced cost or even eliminating. I know in Hawaii, there's a lot of things you can do for free, right? There's a lot of things, especially outside, that you can do for free or cheaply. So I would say just be more intentional about how you do spend your money, save and invest the rest. And you'll not that you're going to compare yourself to others, but you will be better off than you were before.
Yeah. Wow. Jason, thoughts?
No, I'm glad you, the whole time I was thinking of the word intentional, right? Like, and don't focus so much on your earn as much as your burn. And not to say you can't spend money, but it's just being intentional with that spending. I think that's I think a lot of people get caught up on focusing on how much they earn. And it's this hamster wheel of I need to earn more and earn more and earn more without taking care of those, investments and focusing on their burn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, so for me, I mean, I just loved how you said, do I spend less than I make, or do I make more than I spend? And like, and when you first said that, I was like, well, that's the same thing. But as you explained it, to me, it's like a mindset shift, right? It's like, it's understanding like, no, I'm deliberately choosing and intentional, right? Like you said, Jason, to spend less than I make versus, oh, I'm out earning my spending, which it's really hard to continue to out earn spending. But it's so interesting because a lot of these conversations, I feel like whether you want to go for F.I.R.E. or not, these are really important things to think about, because, you're going to get to that retirement age at some point in time. And hopefully you've done enough, whether it's for early retirement or for just regular retirement. These are all things that are, to me, super helpful. So let's move into that. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick thing to add. I want to tell people that statistics are really interesting. Again, you never know what to actually, which statistics to actually, listen to, because there's a lot of noise out there. But I will say that about 70% of Americans retire before age 65. And I just want to mention that it's not just people retiring because they want to. You need to remember that retirement can often be involuntary.
Right.
So I think a lot of us are saying like, oh, I plan to retire when I'm 65. Like, that's a nice thought, a nice goal, an objective, but there are a lot of variables within the retirement formula that are out of our control, right? So for example, if you're listening, you might have been a caregiver for somebody in your family, right? Whether older or younger than you. Even in retirement, you might be a caregiver for even your own spouse, your partner, your parents, your kids, right? So I think it's important to make an intentional plan, but also plan for the things, or at least make some conservative assumptions for the things that are out of your control. So one reason that I save, one reason that I spend less than I make, and I save and invest the difference, is because there's an uncertain future of not just when I retire, but how will my physical, mental, spiritual, relational wellness, how will those stay in place and be healthy, not just in retirement, but also on the path to retirement. So think long-term, be intentional, but also be kind and compassionate to yourself along the way, because most of these variables are out of our control. So just, pick a handful of the things you can control and be intentional with those things. And I think you'll be well on your way to F.I.R.E.
The opinions and statements presented on this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Never make any investment or financial decisions based on information offered on this show without first consulting your financial, legal, or tax advisor. All economic and performance information mentioned on the show is historical in nature and is not indicative of any future results. All indices mentioned on this show are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. Lastly, all opinions expressed by Jason Cutitta and any guests on the show are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of or are endorsed by ToBA Financial. For Jason Cutitta, investment advisory services are offered through ToBA Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Hawaii and in other jurisdictions where exempt from registration.